Tartan is everywhere. Hidden in plain sight, or should I say plaid sight, for that is how plaid is pronounced in Scotland. Most of you probably own some tartan. Most people have a tartan scarf or blanket, some tartan pyjamas, maybe even a kilt. I don't own a kilt, but I got married in one. My uncle Hector, though, he wore a kilt every day for almost 50 years. His name is Hector Donald Campbell. He's 86 now and prefers wearing trousers. But he told me how comfortable and functional the kilt was. He says he wore it in all weathers. It kept him cool when it was hot. It kept him warm when it was cold. And he could wear it for any occasion. He said he even wore it on his motorbike. I asked him how he kept it from flapping around, and he said he put his briefcase on the front of him to stop it flapping at the front, but at the back, he said he didn't care because he didn't see what was happening. So you can use your imagination there. Now, Hector also said he was proud to wear the Campbell tartan to follow in a hundreds-year-long tradition. A tradition that started in the wee Highland villages of Scotland. For that is where tartan was first woven by housewives, by mothers. Woven in wee looms in individual houses. And the dyes used to make the colours of the tartan were just made from what was available in the locality, from seaweeds, from barks, from flowers. But before the tartan could be dyed, it first had to be soaked in old urine. Now, I don't know how old the urine had to be or whose urine it was, but I hope by the time the kilt was ready to wear that the smell had gone. So, as I said, tartan originated hundreds of years ago in the Highlands of Scotland, and it has an incredible journey where it now covers the whole globe. Not literally, because of course that would take an awfully big blanket. But tartan wasn't always the world-dominating textile that it is today. It went from being the everyday dress of the common Scottish Highlander to being the uniform of the different Highland clans. Along the way it was banned by the English, and then it was championed by Sir Walter Scott and Queen Victoria. So it kind of had quite an interesting journey. It's been made in Scotland for almost 2,000 years. I should probably define tartan for you, or let the Merriam-Webster Collegiate Dictionary define it as a plaid textile of Scottish origin, a twilled woolen fabric. And a twill is a double thread weave, and that gives the tartan its distinctive look. And you'll see the stripes, even though they're horizontal and vertical, the threading is actually diagonal. And that's what identifies a tartan, as well as the pattern, which is called a set, and then it repeats itself. And there are varying sizes in the different tartans. The first kilts that were made out of tartan were called great kilts. And these kilts were wrapped around the whole body, round the waist and over the shoulders. They were basically just like big blankets that people just used to wrap themselves up in. And they were very functional for being in the Highlands, you know, especially like the Highland men would sleep outdoors and just cover themselves with a blanket. But when towns started growing in Scotland in the 1700s, you know, this big great kilt was cumbersome to wear. And so this led to the invention of the kilt as we know it today, the small kilt, otherwise known as the walking kilt. This appeared in the year 1720. But it was only around for 25 years before it was banned. And this was as a result of the Scottish defeat at the hands of the English in the Battle of Culloden in 1745. And this was the last battle fought on British soil. And the Scots were trounced. Bonnie Prince Charlie flew over the glens, over the sea to Skye, back to France, never to return to Scotland. Tartan was banned then, as was playing the bagpipes, as was speaking Gaelic. The English were trying to weed out Scottish culture. They were trying to get rid of Scottishness, basically. But the ban of the kilt wasn't really enforceable, you know. Scotland was still a wild country. So the kilt made a resurgence. And only 37 years later, there was a repeal on the ban on tartan. Now the Gaelic language didn't come back as strongly as the kilt. Or playing the bagpipes also. But the kilt was back. The Highland Society of Scotland was a major force behind the repeal of this ban on tartan. And from that point, it didn't look back. So look into the early 1800s. Sir Walter Scott, the novelist, promoted tartan in life and in his novels. And he actually organised the state visit of George III to Scotland in the early 1800s, and he basically decked out the whole of Edinburgh in tartan. And when Queen Victoria, the next monarch, came to Scotland, she fell in love with Balmoral Castle and bought it, and she decked the whole place out in tartan herself, and she even invented her own tartan. And her husband, Prince Albert, invented the Balmoral tartan, which the royals still wear today. Around the same time, some weavers and some people selling books on tartan, they invented the idea of specific tartans coming from specific clans. Now, this wasn't the case. As I said before, the colours of the tartan were their colours because of the region that they were in, because the dyes available in the localities, and the association with certain families was an invention of the 19th century. But anyway, this invention soon caught on, and it's a good thing, you know. People can trace their families back a couple of hundred years, and then they're proud to wear tartans associated with the families, whether they're the original family tartans or not. And it comes up to the present day where the website Tartans of Scotland has a register of 2,800 known tartans. So, tartan has come a long way. It's come a long way from its humble beginnings, from its use being confined to the Highlands. It's developed into an easy wear kilt, and it now belongs to MD who wishes to wear it, regardless of class or social status. Fast forward to modern times, you see tartan used everywhere in pop culture. Rod Stewart wears a lot of tartan, even though he was born in England. His father was Scottish, and he was proud of his Scottish roots, and you can see him wearing tartan all through the 1970s, basically, as were the Bay City Rollers. I think the Bay City Rollers, though, used tartan to sell their pop records. But these days, in Scotland, we have a thing such as the Tartan Army, or to give it its proper title, the Barmy Tartan Army. And they're the Scottish football fans, and they'll descend en masse wherever Scotland's playing football, 10, 20,000 of them, all wearing kilts. It's quite a sight to behold. There's also a writing genre called tartan noir, and Matt Maguire identifies this as a peculiarly Scottish take on crime fiction. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is an example of this. So more and more people, especially Americans, are tracing their Scottish ancestry because of the popularity of tartan and kilts. One such person was Joshua Almond, a professor of art at Rollins College, and he can trace his descent through a great-grandfather, a MacArthur, who came to America from Scotland in the late 1890s. But Josh visited Scotland and bought himself a Clan MacArthur kilt. He said he feels part Scottish because of his ancestry, and of course he is. There's Scottish blood flowing in his veins. So we see tartan is more popular than ever. There's a tartan for every occasion. Celtic Life International has even created a world peace tartan. From biscuit tins to blankets, tartan is everywhere. You probably have more tartan in your life than you realise. So we have taken a wee journey then through the history of tartan. We have an understanding of how tartan managed to take over the world, and the world is a better place for it.